Hello and welcome back to the Weekend Spread, the Schooner Pod's weekly college football pick'em podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Howard, and with me today, we've got James Maxwell, Ty Lee, and still checking in through pre-recorded video is the captain, Boaton Blake, still out in Europe. Boys, hard to believe that we're already at week 6. We're into the October. Pretty unreal how fast this football season has flown by.
Woo! Man, I love October.
Genuinely the best, probably the best sports month of the year when just everything's happening all at once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why it's the best month of the year, because sports is our life, Bobby.
And it's great for us. We're Thunder fans. It's great for, college, I think college football properly peaks. What's that?
OU Texas, the best day of the year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It. College football peaks. Like you get all of the really good rivalries. You get again, OU Texas. It's perfect, and it starts to kind of feel like football season. The weather starts to get nice and chilly, maybe a little bit. It's just this is when college football peaks for me. So I'm really pumped. But guys, another interesting week of the sport. Very, very mixed bag last week. Blake and Ty both had losing weeks. I somehow scrapped out an over 500 run with at 6-5. Jameson, you had a great week at 7-3. Once again, this sport just continues to be excellent. 2 massive matchups were just lived up to the billing with Alabama, Georgia, and Oregon, Penn State. Like we have it so damn good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like even whenever that Oregon Penn State game could have been a little bit better, we were blessed with double overtime.
Yeah, and it was a close game. I mean, ugly aesthetically, but it was a good game. Oh, Ty and I, we believed in the Ducks. We knew this.
Yeah, it wasn't just believing in the Ducks. It's just understanding that Penn State is not going to win big games, especially when they hype it up like that. It's like literal clockwork. But yeah, a tremendous, tremendous week. Another banger for the sport. We've been talking in our group chat about, is this the best season of college football so far since, I guess, like the start of the 2010s, and I certainly think so. It's like week after week, just absolute bangers. The Friday games were bangers as well. It hurt me on my wild card pick, but that Florida State UVA game that had an insane ending. The ASU TCU game that I was at was a awesome game as well. TCU was up several touchdowns at one point, and it looked bleak. And then tremendous comeback at home at blackout night for ASU, which I feel like is probably every night there if you're a student there. But it was just another absolute banger weekend of college football. So super, super excited because, again, now we have another absolute banger slate this week. And then the week after, obviously, like we talked about, OU Texas, a lot of content coming up for that. And some more tremendous bangers of games lined up across college football. So really, really excited to dig into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Quick reminder of our standings. Jameson in the lead at 33-21. Boaton Blake second at 31-23. Ty third at 30-25. And I don't love being last at 29-26. Still over 500, still within punching distance with a good week. So that's the thing with the weekend spread. You can get hot, make some big moves. You can get cold, take a tumble down the standings. We all are pretty solid pickers here. Let's go ahead and kick this thing off with our first game. Virginia, 24th in the country, the toast of the town after upsetting Florida State. As you can see, it's retro week, so we picked a nice merry little Cavalier there, enjoying a couple beverages. They're 4-1. 4-1 against the spread as well. They're heading to the stadium formerly known as Papa John's. I believe it's not known as Papa John's anymore. They're taking on Louisville, the Cardinals, who are 3-0, 1-3 against the spread. Louisville, a 7.5 point favorite at home when we locked our lines earlier this week. You can find this one 2:30 p.m. Central on ESPN2. Jameson, actually, you'll go first once we hit, the normal people, but we'll let Blake kick us off here. And
normal
my
people.
God, it's a 4-minute. He has a 4-minute intro plus pick. So
it's because Chandler Morris, TCU and OU player, is on one of these teams.
Yeah, last week I had it filtered through Riverside, so I was able to kind of speed it up a little bit. But this week we're going with the straight Blake here. So here we go.
Bonjour once again, Boat and Blake back here from France. And good news is this is my last week. I should be getting back tonight, basically around when the podcast is going on. So just wanted to record these to make sure that I got my picks in. I don't just like giving them on the spreadsheet. I still like giving a little bit of analysis, even though I probably haven't been watching the most ball lately. But little last week recap. The vibes were off. I told you I didn't have really any time to look into the research, didn't really have time to crunch the numbers, and it showed. Picks I regret, Penn State. We just got to address that here. They are still frauds. I haven't sold my Bama stock yet. I've sold my Clemson stock. I think of the teams that I was highest on, Penn State being my national championship, it might be time to sell the stock. James Franklin once again shows that he can't win a big game, and that just hurts. They just looked the same old Penn State of old. And looking at kind of the Big Ten this year, Ohio State looks good. Indiana looks good. There's some feisty teams in there where I used to be able to chalk up the fact that Penn State was probably going to go 10-2 in this conference. I don't know now. I really don't know. So that one I regret. USC on the road. I should have known. Lincoln Riley can't win on the road in this conference. What was I thinking? But for the rest, I feel pretty comfortable about the Texas A&M one. That hurts. TCU going with your own boys. That kind of sucks, especially with the collapse and how that went. Like that just hurts for other reasons. And then finally Arkansas. RIP to the Pitties. That was. It's an end of an era. I can't believe they didn't even give him a final just send off that he deserved. Like he loves Arkansas so much. You see it in his house where he has this ginormous pig statue right in front of it. Like he loves this program through and through. And they brought in Littlefinger, Bobby Petrino, just to absolutely whack his knees out, fire his entire staff, even though Bobby Petrino is just as implicit. So a little bit upset with that one, but you're going to go down with your boys. But let's get into this week. Hopefully I can turn it around. Did a little bit more research and just kind of evaluating some of the tape last week. I feel pretty good about these picks. So first one, Virginia, Louisville. This one is it's a tough one to pick in the sense that Virginia, like this is classic Vegas. Stay away from Virginia. Comes off of a program defining win under Tony Elliott, the craziest field rush I've ever seen in college football. The speed, the veracity, the just how those students covered that field was insane. But even with kind of those warning signs that they're going up against a pretty good and well-coached Louisville team under Jeff Brom, I think I got to go with my boys at UVA. I think Tony Elliott and Chandler Morris has finally found his place in college football, and I'm so glad. Didn't work out at OU for obvious reasons, then going to TCU and just kind of getting overshadowed by the fact that Max Duggan came out of nowhere after he got injured. Put up great stats at UNT, and now is leading this UVA team. I think they're a sneaky dark horse to be competing for the ACC at the end of the day. And look, Louisville, I love Jeff Brom as a coach. I think he's fantastic. I think he's going to constantly have Louisville at 9 wins in this conference. Always going to be competing for it, but just haven't really liked what I've seen from the offense. Like from an offensive genius in Jeff Brom, I haven't seen that from Miller Moss and that crew. The offense has been putting up points, but the running offense has just been abysmal. The defense is looking better for Louisville, but I just think this UVA offense is humming at a level, and seeing it against a good Florida State squad last week, I just think 7.5 with that hook, way too much. I'm going to be taking my boy Chandler Morris next week, UVA plus 7.5.
Interesting. My turn, correct, Bobby? Louisville, not nowhere. Kentuckian, sorry, it's not Louisville. It's Louisville. And look at these wonderful logos on the side here. That bird does not have teeth in it, Bobby. That original Louisville bird does not have teeth, which kind of makes me wonder, is this truly the Cardinals that we know?
It has teeth under there. I can assure you, there's teeth in there. He's just not showing them. He's really grumpy.
That just honestly just did it for me. I think that's all I needed to know. There is teeth in the Louisville logos, and I'm going with Louisville. I think that Blake saying that the run game is something that he was concerned about with Louisville. I think their offense is like electric, and it's been a little bit shoddy. Like the James Madison game was really weird. That was a weird one, and they ran all over him, made it a slog. But when it comes down to it, like Isaac Brown's a really good running back for Louisville, and I'm not concerned about him and his production of being 14 carries, 20 yards versus Pitt last week. This is a guy that if he can get a carry, he can go far. He had 104 yards versus James Madison. He had 126 versus Eastern Kentucky. Chris Bell, Colin Lacey, like they've got some absolute guys who can break this open. I think Louisville still covers this at 7.5 with even a stanky line.
Here's the number one thing you got to know in this one. 9 years of quarterback experience between these two starters. Chandler Morris on his 6th season of college football. Miller Moss on his, no, wait, that's not right. That's not right at all, is it? 4, 5. He's on his 5th.
There we go.
How would he have 6 seasons?
There's plenty of people who have had 6 seasons.
That's crazy. He is on his 6th season. Okay.
Yes, there's the COVID years. This is the last year of the 6-year senior, I believe.
We have more years. We have 11 years. Mr. President, there's been 2 additional years of quarterback experience added to this game. It's Chandler Morris. Miller Moss had basically a full career at USC. Obviously didn't start all of those years. And then Chandler Morris has played. He's been like the college Baker Mayfield, I suppose, in some ways. He's been all over the league for little bits of time and long bits of time. But here's the thing for me. This UVA team has burned me. I think they will continue to burn me as I just don't understand them. I don't understand how to pick them. I'm not going to watch a Louisville game. You're not going to get me to do that. So I'm going to remain a Louisville not knower. I do like the little retro logo where the bird is asking to speak to the manager. But the UVA retro logo where it looks like just sort of a drunkard at a Halloween where he's dressed as a pirate or something like that in the 70s is way better vibes. And it's also better vibes that even when they've lost, this UVA team has put up points. I understand Louisville has also been solid. It does worry me that Louisville has been so bad against the spread because all of these tend to even out to basically 50-50 against the spread as the season goes on. So that does worry me a little bit with the 7.5, but that's frankly a fallacy. Give me the Cavaliers because they put up points.
Wow,
plus
a dog.
7.5 going to Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville.
To lose by at least less than give me plus 7.5. Bobby.
There's the math.
There you go. Here's a closer look at the drunk Virginia logo, by the way.
Wow. So he's actually supposed to be drunk.
No, he actually is very, very drunk.
I'm very
This is a logo Virginia. This is a logo that Virginia implemented after Prohibition ended, and he's having a great time. I don't think they ever officially used him, but I just found him when I was looking up retro logos, and I was enamored with him.
When I first moved here, Bobby, I said I want to get like a piece of Virginia gear just to feel at home here. And I found that logo and I was like, yes, but no one sells it. And I was like, no way these print t-shirt sites will actually realize that that's an old UVA logo, right? I've been trying for a while now to get it by copyright. And they won't let me.
They keep snagging you?
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Oh, rats.
I just
you got to get down and dirty.
You know what? You need to go down to the State Fair of Texas and get you an airbrush t-shirt with this guy on it.
The airbrush drunk Virginia Cavalier. Incredible. Yeah, this is a tricky one. I haven't been overly impressed with Louisville this year. Louisville this year. I feel like they've had some snags here and there. The 7.5 line, it's that hook. And I think these ACC games just can be a bit of a slog at times. I think there is some merit to the Virginia hangover, no pun intended, given the logo, after a massive win at home. I think Louisville wins this game. But not by 7.5 points. So I'm going to go with the Hoos to cover 7.5. I think this is going to be a gross game. Just saying. But all right, moving on to our next ACC matchup. It's a Miami Hurricane, third in the country, 4-0, heading to Doak Campbell Stadium to take on the Florida State Seminoles, ranked 18th in the country, snipped by those very same Virginia Cavaliers in overtime, 3-1. Miami, a 4.5-point favorite on the road, despite looking dominant all season long. You can find this one 6:30 p.m. Central on ABC. Let's see what Blake has to say about this one.
Next one on the slate, Florida State, Miami. I think this is going to be an all-time banger of a game. And unfortunately for Florida State, I got to go with Miami. Miami, to me, has been the most impressive team this year. With the wins versus Notre Dame, USF, Florida, this team seems to be putting away elite competition compared to most schedules and doing it pretty handedly. I think the difference between this Miami team this year and ones in years past is definitely the defense. It seems like USF, who has an explosive offense, couldn't get anything going. Florida, although has kind of been shaky, still they wouldn't allow them to get anything going. And Notre Dame, who it actually looks like they have an offense that can move the ball a little bit, like we saw against Texas A&M, we saw it against Arkansas. I'm not saying those are world beater offense or defenses, but even then, like they still had them under check for about 3/4 of the game before it got a little bit close there at the end. But I think Florida State was in a complete look ahead spot last week, overlooked UVA, and that really sucks because I think they're probably better than them. But you know what? I don't even care about the look ahead spot. I just think Miami's defense is so much better than anything Florida State has faced this year. It seems like they kind of beat up on inferior competition, got Bama down at a low point at the start of the season, whose defense just looks shaky at best. This Miami team knows how to punch you in the mouth. And all the concerns I've had about Mario Cristobal not being able to close out close games and stuff like that, I think it doesn't matter this year. They just have such a dominant team. It just seems like Carson Beck, the offense might not have the ceiling as it did last year, but dang, it's pretty close, and this defense just feels so much better. Miami feels like a runaway to win the ACC at this point. I just think they are leagues better than anybody in this conference. They could be leagues better than anybody in the nation at this point, honestly. We've seen it's Mario Cristobal stacked talent for the last 4 or 5 years, and this is what it looks like when it finally comes together. So I'm going to go Miami. I don't care the number. I don't care that the fact that they're going on the road into a hostile Florida State environment that I know is going to be pumped up for this game, but 4.5 just still seems low. Like I'm probably think this is more towards a touchdown just with how Miami has been able to perform, and in a stadium that I wouldn't say for Miami in the past gives them that much of a home field advantage. It seems like it's neutral field for a lot of these big games. So I feel very confident in Miami. So give me the Hurricanes minus 4.5.
So I've kind of been getting my hand stuck in the cookie jar against Miami over and over and over again. I've been fading them. And I've learned my lesson. I turned around, got on with the right time against Florida in that game. And, I have to agree. I think Miami is, just they feel like a runaway train here. I feel like they're the best team in the ACC. They look dominant, but they've only played home games. I feel like this Florida State game, even though it was a total disaster, that weird ACC Friday night situation. We've seen many a team get bit by that in the past. This is a massive game. And Doak is, look, that is a incredible atmosphere. It's a loud stadium. And Miami, we haven't seen them on the road yet. So here's my thing. Tight rivalry game. I think this is going to be a slugfest. I think this is probably going to be the only time Miami slips up this year in ACC play. If there is a time they slip up, it's here. I'm going to go Florida State to cover. Miami wins after a missed Florida State field goal wide left to add to the rivalry. Add to the rivalry tradition with Florida State missing bad field goals. I think this is going to be a banger of a game. This is going to hark back to some classics. I just feel like Florida State keeps this thing close enough and might win it outright, but I feel like Miami on the road, untested, probably not going to be ready for this in some way. I think they're a very, very good team. I just like the Noles at home here in a hotly contested, intense rivalry to cover 4.5.
Bobby bringing back the curse of Turntle.
Oh,
do you remember Turntle?
I was not even bringing up Turntle. I was just talking about the wide right, wide left, incidents from over the years.
Can you explain for the viewers, Jameson?
Turntle was, so help me fill in but it's Ricky Aguayo, Roberto's little brother. He got accused of killing who was it? Florida State's fraternities? It wasn't like
it was a Florida State fraternity turtle.
I found it. Kappa Phi fraternity.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had and allegedly were they accused of smashing a coffee table and ripping a pet turtle in half.
Yeah.
What the heck? And then that created a really bad cascade.
The turtle was named Turntle.
Sweet little Turntle. He was too good for this world.
Ty, you're picking the U. We already did that.
I don't remember. Okay, so one thing that Bobby forgot is, as a Miami not knower, Bobby does not remember that Miami plays all of their games an hour and a half drive from the campus with like no actual students or Miami alums in attendance. It doesn't matter where they're playing. It's going to be an hour plus away, and there's going to be like we said a couple of weeks ago, 40 to 60 or 60-40 actual Miami alums or students in attendance for the game, not counting the teams. So I don't know if being the first away game is going to be that significant, but I hate to do this because I don't know what is going on. At first, Blake just went on a horrific jinx train. His whole thing was just some sort of reverse psychology.
That's all he does.
Jinx. I don't even know what he was cooking up. Add that to his list of crimes against humanity that he's over there committing in Europe right now. But for me, it's like, this is such a massive game. I understand why game day is not at this one. I understand why they're at Vandy, Bama, but like, this is a game day environment. I think this is the biggest game of the week in terms of how hype both of these fan bases are going to be. And the fact that it's at Florida State, and Florida State has already shown impressive things in this season. I'm going with the Noles outright in this one.
Holy crap.
Give me the chop. It's Florida State is back. It is beautiful to see. Miami, here's the thing about Miami. They always do this. People are acting like this is crazy. They're 4-0. We're in October now. You guys are going to see. So give me Florida State. Give me the Noles at home against the Canes to take the win. So FSU plus 4.5 in this one.
Yeah, I'm picking Miami. Thanks, Ty. You abandoning Miami is great, and I love that. I'm going to eat up all of that. This Miami team is arguably probably the most talented team in the nation right now. That's kind of a bold take, but like, their defense is special. It's a really good defense, and the way Carson Beck is playing, this is what they hoped him to be. That's what Georgia hoped him to be, and that's what Miami hoped him to be, and it's coming out, and they've got great weapons on offense that are popping off. Legitimately, everything is coming together for them. Florida State has some cracks, and I just think that's too much whenever you have to come off of a horrible loss and then you play against one of the most talented teams in the country. So I'm going to say Miami here covers.
Yeah, Carson Beck with a very impressive 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 19 sack yards lost, and 19 rush yards. That's exactly what
I think he's playing with like the
he is. Yeah, that's true.
Like, you can tell.
Yeah,
but like, you can tell by the way he's carrying himself that it feels like it's a different Carson Beck.
Yeah, he's certainly not the Georgia guy that we saw. No, he is. He's almost 74% on the season.
I'm telling Malachi Tony's a dude, man. He's a true freshman for the Miami. I continue to say it. I've said it like maybe 5 times in this pod. Like, this guy's a dude.
I know they're good. Just haven't seen them on the road yet.
Cool.
I don't know. We'll see.
Love it.
We'll see. Let's kick it to Blake for our next game. We've got the Iowa State Cyclones, ranked 14th in the country, 5-0, 4-1 against the spread. They're heading to Cincy to take on the Bearcats, 3-1 overall and against the spread. Cincy favored by 1.5 at home. You can find this one 11 a.m. Central on ESPN2. All right, let's see what Blake has to say about this one.
The Big 12's officially back. I think after last week, TCU, Arizona State being a banger of a game, we're seeing Cincinnati beat Kansas. We're seeing a lot of these teams. Like, the Big 12 is forming a definite cream at the top. And I think this is going to be a conference race for the ages. And I think this game this week, Iowa State, Cincinnati, is going to be one of those deciding games. It feels like there's going to be every single week, there's going to be a game that completely alters the race. And this is kind of the start of it. Two teams that, to me, are a little bit surprising. Like Cincinnati, besides that Nebraska game, has looked pretty solid. Stole one at Kansas last week. Brendan Sorsby's been playing well. And I was honestly a hater of Iowa State coming into the season. I thought that their kind of formula is 3-4 years. Every 3 or 4 years or so, they can compete. That's what Matt Campbell builds to, he develops to, then they get a 1-year window. That's not necessarily the case. It's Iowa State has won some solid games, beat Iowa in a rivalry game where they typically don't win, put on a show in Dublin. So I think this is going to be a game that definitely alters the race for the Big 12. Conference that's looking like two teams. I'm thinking 2 teams for the Big 12 are making it into the playoff. But X's and O's for this game. I don't feel confident enough in Iowa State's offense this year. Something that I feel like I've been able to hang your hat on in the past, that Rocco Becht has been able to drive the ball down the field in the pass game, good receiver play, good running attack. It just seems like that is lacking this year. I'm not saying that they're horrible per se or that it's a complete deficit for them, but it just hasn't been great. It's like versus a K-State team that we've now seen as pretty trash. Struggled to move the ball, but okay, that's week 1 in Dublin. Struggle with Arkansas State, struggle with Iowa, who just kind of looks like a Joe Schmo Iowa team, like nothing special. I like what I see from Rocco Becht, but he's kind of the only one moving the ball. Like, there's no run game. The only thing they have there is Rocco Becht, but that also kind of worries me. Cincinnati, although the offense has been humming a little bit under Brendan Sorsby, their pass defense is horrendous. It is absolutely horrendous and will get ripped apart this game. So this one's going to be probably similar to how it was against Kansas, a back and forth affair where it could just come down to the final possession. And this is a weird line because I think many people with Iowa State's performances kind of on a more national stage is like, how is Iowa State not favored? I think these teams are probably closer than you think when it comes to a power ratings perspective. I think Iowa State's better, but I don't think by that much. And when home field is factored in, I definitely see why Cincinnati is a 1.5 point favorite. So I'm going to take the Bearcats minus 1.5. I just think as much love that Rocco Becht gets for being a gamer, a late game guy that can keep Iowa State in it, I think Brendan Sorsby is not talked about enough. This guy can kind of run. I think he just guts with his legs. This Iowa State defense is able to throw it a little bit. But yeah, I feel like this is just going to be a classic Big 12 shootout. Who gets the ball last? But I'm going to take the home team and Brendan Sorsby.
Man, I love it. Blake hating on Rocco Becht just set me up for success, baby. You already know what it is. It's Rocco Becht believer right here in Iowa State. I get it. I'm not feeling very, very like over the moon confident in this one. It's going to be a good game, but when it comes down to a shootout in the end, he already said it. Rocco Becht's a bigger gamer. So give me Iowa State to win this one.
Yeah, this one is challenging. I got to say, I'm a known Cincinnati not believer. TQL Stadium is, in fact, a tremendous college football stadium. It's a wonderful, wonderful home environment.
Do I believe in stadium?
You talking about Nip?
Oh.
I think you're forgetting about the Nip. They play at Nippert.
Yeah, Nip. We've talked about this a lot.
I'm pretty sure you're looking up the soccer stadium.
No,
they play at Nippert. I'm 1,000% sure.
The field literally says...
No, this is the soccer pitch, Ty. TQL Stadium is where they play soccer. They play at Nippert, which honestly, the soccer stadium might be bigger than Nippert. But no, they play at the super old, super weird stadium. They call it Nip at Night. This one's at 11 a.m., so they won't have that in full effect. But
when did they play games? Did they used to play games at TQL?
No, this is like a brand new stadium. They just built it. It's for the FC Cincinnati. Nippert Stadium is one of the oldest stadiums in the country.
I'm gonna have to look this up.
You played there like 2 years ago.
More to be found later. Anyways, give me the Cyclones.
The who?
He said Iowa State.
The Cyclones.
Okay, Iowa State. Okay. Look, last week I faded Cincy, and I was very wrong there.
Bobby, you only pick off of what you've been burned on.
TQL buys naming rights to Cincinnati Bearcat Stadium.
Well, it's
no, what you're looking up AI or something
no,
whatever Google
in 2023. I know for a fact that it says TQL on the field.
So because on the field, so they have the field name.
They had on-field sponsorships a year before anyone else in college football did. I remember that from when we played there.
No, I don't think that's right.
I'll pull up the game film. And I'll send you a. Anyways, let's roll.
I mean, anyways. So okay, here's the thing. TQL is on the field, but it is not TQL Stadium. It's Nippert Stadium. Okay, TQL also has the soccer stadium. So so we're kind of. I see where you're coming from. It's not TQL Stadium, but they're branded on the field.
Yes.
Anyways, let's get to the game.
It's a great stadium.
So here's my thing. I've been burnt on Cincy last week. I don't know. I thought Kansas could get it done. They completely shot themselves in the foot over and over and over again in positions to win the game. And, sometimes that happens. And, I'm not doubting Cincy here. I think 1.5, that I think this is going to be a tough line. I think it's a toss-up. I'm not going to act like this is a slam dunk or anything, but I'm still going to go with Iowa State. I like Rocco Becht. I like what they do. This is a bit of a sweat, but I like the Cyclones. I think they're the better team. So let's move on to our next game. We've got the Mississippi State Bulldogs, 4-1 overall, 5-0 against the spread. After a just wild overtime game against the Tennessee Volunteers that they might have been able to win, just kind of let slip away there. They're heading to Kyle Field to take on the Texas A&M Aggies, ranked sixth in the country. They're 4-0, 1-3 against the spread. A&M favored by 14.5. You can find this one 6:30 p.m. Central on the SEC network. So, all right. Let's hear from Blake on this one. Gonna get him pulled up here, doing something a little different so we can all react to whatever he says.
I'm so excited that Mississippi State feels like they've gotten out of the basement of the SEC, that they've finally become a competent SEC team once again. Blake Shapen just looking great. That offense is humming, but that is too bad because I think the Aggies just roll over on them here. I just think A&M has so much talent, and I still don't think we've seen the final form of this team just because I feel like Elko will shore up this defense a little bit more. I don't think Jackson Arnold last week is really going to test that defense whatsoever just because he doesn't seem like, or him and Auburn don't seem like they can run a competent offense to save their life. But look, A&M just has weapons, and I think Mississippi State's defense is susceptible to the run. I think Marcel Reed, if they start using him in the read option a little bit more, that opens up the run game. I think Le'Veon Moss is one of the best backs in the country. I think that's dominant. And really, the great thing about A&M is just they don't have to lean on Marcel Reed to do everything. They have so many weapons around them. They have the talent in that running game, the talent in that passing game, they don't have to rely on him to be making all these big time throws. They have guys that can get open. They have guys that can go on these short intermediary routes. And Casey Concepcion has shown it. It's like what we've been wanting to see at NC State for the longest time that we just never got to see. He's an explosive playmaker, one of the best wide receivers in the SEC. And look, my guy Bussy is about to get going. I saw he only had one catch last week. That's unfortunate, but this guy is a true star. I just think, although Mississippi State, they're looking good. It's like you keep it close versus Tennessee. You beat Arizona State at home. Like, things are starting to look good. I still think there's just a talent and a coaching advantage gap here that is just significant between these two squads. I think Mississippi State, their record is still going to be decent, and they could even try to make a bowl game this year. But I just think the talent is just overwhelming on the A&M sideline that Marcel Reed doesn't have to have a good game, and they're still going to win. They're still going to cover. So give me the Aggies minus 14.5 next week.
Bussy.
Oh God. We actually had a comment last week from a Texas A&M fan, because we found there's a Texas A&M fan who found our videos, enjoys our videos, and he very specifically commented, shout out to Baroni22, who said, please tell Blake to never pronounce I don't even know how to say it correctly because of how we've been saying it, Bussy's name like that ever again. So apologies to Ronnie22. Please.
I think you said it right. I think it is like bus.
I think it's Bussy. Yeah, it's not Bussy. So apologies to Ronnie for Blake mispronouncing his name again.
You sound like you know it when you see it, so you know for certain that it's not.
God. This line feels a little rich for my blood. I like Texas A&M overall. I think they're a really good team. But there's something about Mississippi State has shown a lot to me this year. 14.5 feels a little high, but it is Kyle Field, crazy environment. Not to say that Mississippi State, like last game out, was kind of a neutral site game. Tennessee fans and just completely invaded that. Especially with the hook. I'm going to go with Mississippi State to keep it closer than 14.5. I don't think it's a particularly close game in a way, but I'm not as sold on A&M's offense to really, I don't know, pull away to the extent of 14.5. So I'm going to go with the Bulldogs to cover 14.5 here. They've been great against the spread. Obviously a totally different animal at Kyle Field, but I don't know. 14.5 just feels a little bit too much.
Yeah, here's the thing with State. I think in one, this is great to see, Mississippi State rising back to sort of a place of relevance, because it's a program that has so many people that care so deeply about it, so much passion within that fan base. And, we have to remember like how they got into this situation in the first place with the absolutely tragic passing of their head coach, Mike Leach. They were not, obviously no one expected that. And they kind of signed Mike Leach expecting that he would be sort of a tenured guy in Starkville, as he was at his previous spots, at least a long-term coach. So you love to see that Mississippi State is back to some life in the program. At the same time, this Texas A&M team is very legitimate. And I think this Mississippi State team obviously has a great offensive mind at the helm, but I think they kind of got a little bit to where they are by one, right? They beat my Sun Devils, Forks Up, but that was a team that sort of didn't have its feet under it. And I think a lot of people, including the Sun Devils, including Tennessee, another great offensive mind at the helm over there, just kind of overlook this team. But I fear for this Mississippi State team, not only because their schedule coming up, which is rough, but they're going to make a bowl game. If you look at their schedule, you can see them making a bowl game, but they have a rough schedule coming up. I fear for them because there is enough of what they do on tape now that people aren't going to be fooled by their tricks or unprepared for the things that they present and bring. 14.5 is a lot of points, tremendous look ahead, tremendous overestimate what we have to do. And obviously these teams care about winning. They don't care about, covering a spread. So if you're up by 14 in the fourth quarter and there's 3 minutes left and you're Texas A&M, you have no impetus to go and try to score there. So that certainly worries me. But I think at home at Kyle Field, Texas A&M, another wonderfully coached team, has enough on film that they know what this Mississippi State team is going to do. And unfortunately, I think their athletes, their home field advantage, and their ability to prep with the amount of tape that they have on State now is worth more than 14.5 points. Not by much, but give me the Ags 14.5 at home.
Yeah, Mississippi State, all of their impressive performances thus far have been at home. When we talk about what Starkville brings in terms of an environment, obviously Kenny Dillingham had thoughts on that as well. Obviously the way that they've been performing to begin the season allowed their fans to kind of spread their wings and create a wonderful environment. And I think Vegas is piping in a lot of what we've seen thus far based off those games. You see like the Tennessee game last week where they took them to overtime, and then the Arizona State win. Like these things have not happened when they're outside of Starkville. And Texas A&M, on the other hand, I think that they've been undercompensated by Vegas, because that game last week versus Auburn, ugly. Texas A&M should have destroyed them. Should have absolutely destroyed them. We were worried about Texas A&M's defense after watching that Notre Dame game, and then it looked stellar. The only reason that Jackson Arnold got a touchdown last week was because that interception that took him down into the red zone. I really, truly think that Texas A&M, if their defense is coming together and their offense has shown what they can do in the beginning of the season, I think 14.5 is very attainable. I like Texas A&M a lot here.
Yeah. A quick note. Mississippi State's one away game was also in Mississippi against Southern.
Yeah, Southern.
So,
yeah.
Hey, that is great. That is a fair drive in Mississippi, but they have not played outside of the state, and Kyle Field is a rough way to get your introduction to true away games.
Yeah, I still think they're going to lose. I don't know. That hook. Let's move on to our next game. It's Colorado Buffaloes 2-3, 3-2 against the spread. Heading to Almond G. Carter to take on the TCU Horned Frogs, 3-1 after a just disaster of a loss. Disaster of a loss to Arizona State. A good team, I will say, but when they really shouldn't have lost. TCU favored by 14.5 here. There's that number again. You can find this one 6:30 p.m. Central on Fox. Let's see what Blake has to say about his beloved Horned Frogs here.
I wonder.
I wonder what he's going to say about the Frogs.
This might be a 7-minute excuse video.
Oh, God. Yeah, probably just a big apology.
What a horrendous result from TCU last week. The worst thing you can ever do is not watch your team play just due to like time zone, and then try to have to backfill just everything that happened. It's like the first reaction of seeing the final score only being 3 points. You're like, okay, Arizona State, I said it last week. I thought they were probably the better team. I could conceive a loss for TCU there. I said, even in my best projections, that was always kind of circled as an L, but just looking about how last week just ended up in a total collapse, leading to a fourth quarter where you weren't able to move the ball. Josh Hoover had his worst game by far, I think, in a TCU uniform, and it's really not his fault in a way. It's the offensive line play has been horrendous. It was horrendous last year. I thought things would get a little bit better with who they added in the transfer portal. It hasn't. There's been zero run push run game whatsoever if it's not Kavoria Barnes. Like, if Barnes doesn't play, it seems like we don't have a difference maker in that running back room to make up for the fact that this offensive line can't get a run push. And the pass block last year, even with the bad offensive line, was actually pretty all right, but didn't look like that against ASU. And ASU has a good defensive line, like one of the better ones we're going to face in the Big 12. But it's concerning that Josh Hoover, he's making these mistakes because he has no time. He's making bad decisions because he feels rushed. You can't make those decisions as a quarterback. Like, that's the difference between what makes a good and a great quarterback in college football, is that even when things are not going your way, you're still making plays. Like, he has to own up to that. But the offensive line is a huge issue. It just limits our playbook to just passing the ball. And with Eric McAllister going out, with Kavorian Barnes potentially not playing next week, I don't know how to feel about 14.5 versus Colorado, because the way in which I look at Colorado, it's like it's worse SMU. Their offense is so-so, but their defense can't stop a nosebleed. And we can take advantage of teams like that. We've seen it versus UNC. We've seen it versus SMU. Like, TCU can put the points on the board against non-elite defenses. And so I'm inclined. I'm taking the TCU with the 14.5. I'm a little bit worried about the hook. I'm a little bit worried about that killer instinct and not really having a running game. But yeah, the elite teams are going to probably be able to exploit TCU's failure to be able to establish the run, or just do some basic things on offense that is not Josh Hoover getting Eric McAllister the ball. But I just don't think Colorado has those dogs. They just don't have the talent, I think, on the defensive side of the ball. I'm not really worried about Caden Salter. Our defense, surprisingly, last week was the one that showed up. That's been something I haven't seen since 2021, 2022. Like, that was very surprising. But yeah, I'm just not threatened by Colorado. And I just think this is a good get right game for Josh Hoover, that they're not going to be able to exploit our problems on the offensive line. I think even if Eric McAllister rests, we can do enough in the pass game, and our defense can do enough to stop Colorado, that I just feel like this is a rout. Not really worried about this game. K-State coming up, a little shakier on that. My outlook on TCU, like, I'm always going to stay optimistic. Like, I'm always on the 11-1 Frog bandwagon. But last week shows some holes. It definitely shows some holes in this team. But Colorado ain't going to be the one to exploit them. So give me the Frogs minus 14.5.
Is it me? I already forgot.
Bobby's on mute, but he said yes.
I couldn't remember. Is it? Yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah, it's you.
I think so. What it comes down to is injuries. McAllister for TCU getting hamstring injury. With these hamstring kind of things, even if he plays, I'm a little bit worried for him as a wide receiver. You know, like the push off the line of scrimmage, and that's just a chance to get hurt. Usually wide receivers take a week with hamstrings. So I bet you he doesn't play. And then, like you just said it, Kavorian Barnes, like, he returned to practice this week, but it was non-contact. It was completely limited. So even if he's out there, is he going to be 100%? I don't know. Like, Colorado, I only watched the beginning of that game versus BYU because it got really late here. And let me tell you something. I watched the first 2 touchdown drives for Colorado. I said, wait a second. Hold on. Can they make things a little bit dicey here? I think Colorado can make it close enough and cover this spread here. Give me Colorado to make it a little bit dirty, plus 14.5.
Hey, look, let me say first, I love this game. I love how this is forming into like a little rivalry between these two teams. I think they have fairly similar, and this always helps the college football rivalries, is when you have fairly similar sort of academic standards and student bodies and things like that, because you get people from the central US and Colorado, Texas, and everything else that kind of know each other in high school and go to these schools. And they're very similar schools in that way. And I think it's just such a natural rivalry that is forming here that I look forward to 20, 30 years down the road when we're still doing the Schooner Pod for our 13, 14 viewers, that people actually consider this a legitimate rivalry, because it started with, Deion Sanders announcing that he is coming into college football by just smoking this TCU team. No one said that they would do it but me. I said it for months and months in the offseason. And many were saying that I was wrong, but they were ball not knowers. That being said, this Colorado team, like people are saying in the chat, shout out to Lord King Big Nuts. I'm not going to say that specifically, but they are stanky. They are not as solid as they were last year. They lost their best player on the team. They also lost a guy who won the Heisman Trophy who was the second best player on the team. Shout out to Shedeur Sanders. He was the best player on the team, just to clarify. This is a lot of points for this TCU team. This is a lot of points for this TCU team. A team that is going to win this game. They're going to win this game by double digits, but 14.5 does worry me. It also worries me if you're watching on YouTube, which you should be. It's a much better viewing experience, although we love our podcast listeners. Why is the TCU mascot's head so small? We do not know. There's not very many thoughts going on in that little brain, in that little head, his lizard brain, although he is a frog. I'm going to cut myself short here. I hate this. Give me the Frogs minus 14.5.
What the hell?
I love Colorado. I'm a Colorado fan. I love Colorado. I want Colorado to be
all over the place.
He goes, I'm going to cut myself short here.
He didn't do good against my Sun Devils. He didn't do good against my Sun Devils, but I believe in Hoover. I believe in the Hoove. So I got to ride with my Horned Frogs.
Every time Ty goes up to pick, it's like he's filibustering.
Yes, he is. It's not like it's because he is.
It's like he goes
the
into
schooner
like
pot is
Oswald.
the schooner pot is deeply impacted by the government shutdown.
Ty goes up to the mic, stream of consciousness, and then eventually just says a team.
The problem is
almost completely independent of what he had just said before.
No, I have so many conflicting fandoms this week that I have to pay my respects and I have to give my shout outs to. Like, I've been on the record as loving Miami. I've been on the record. I've loved Colorado from the start. Like, I voted Buffy. Like, I think when we did that mascot pod, I think Buffy was my number one mascot. I'd have to go listen to that. It was in 2018, 2019, something like that. But I have to pay my respects. But yeah, the Hoover is the truth, unless he's playing the Sun Devils in TCU. I don't like it, but.
So here's my thing, especially thinking about that original game. And, you know, I know it's been several years. The key players have all changed. But, you know, there are TCU players who remember that game against Colorado. Sonny Dykes, I guarantee you, remembers that game against Colorado. And, you know, after a brutal loss, you know, they have to be licking their wounds a bit. I think TCU runs it up on the Buffaloes. They are not good. Just like Ty said, just like Lord King Big Nuts said in comments, that this is a very, very poor Colorado squad. And I think they're walking into a situation where TCU is going to look to try to make a statement here. 14.5 feels fine to me. You know, shout out to Colorado for playing well against BYU at home. You know, Deion Sanders had to reprimand the student body for saying chanting F the Mormons, which is something. He said those young people out there were drunk and high at the same time. You know, they didn't know what they were doing. Yeah, so obviously different environment there at Folsom Field, but on the road, I like TCU to roll big here. So give me the Frogs minus 14.5. Let's move on to our next game. It's a Titanic SEC matchup. It's a 16th ranked Vanderbilt Commodores, 5-0 overall, 4-1 against the spread, heading to Tuscaloosa to take on the Alabama Crimson Tide, ranked 10th in the country, resurgent after a big win at Georgia. They're 3-1 overall and against the spread. You can find this one 2:30 p.m. Central on ABC. Alabama is favored by 10.5 at home. So let's go ahead and see what old Blake has to say about this one. I mean, I don't know where he's going to line up with this, because on one end, I feel like he doesn't like Bama, but on the other end, we all know how much he loves Diego Paz. So let's see where he ends up.
I feel very confident about this one. Alabama minus 10.5 versus Vanderbilt. I think this line is still a little bit disrespectful to Vanderbilt, to be honest. Like, everything they've shown every time they've hit the field has been great. Their offense is humming. The defense still allowing some points, like not looking better than most Vanderbilt defenses have in the past. So I'll give them credit for that. And it feels like this line should be a little bit shorter, but I'm still taking Bama here. I just think Kalen DeBoer has to win one game this year and probably has to win it big. it has to be this one. You can't go twice in your coaching tenure and lose to Vanderbilt. I don't care how improved they are. I don't care how good Diego Pavia is. This is the one you have to win, and you have to win big. The Alabama offense just still, and defense, really. Like, there's just still a lot of holes there that make me a little uneasy, but a big win at Georgia last week. I don't think they overlooked this one. Like, if this was last year's Bama team, they're losing to Vanderbilt. But I think with the fact that Vanderbilt was able to get a top 5 win last year, whenever Alabama came into their place, I think Kalen DeBoer has the guys ready. I think this one's just a principled stand that I have to take. I still believe in Bama, and so I think they're going to cover this. And I think if it comes down to one of those late possessions where they could just get a cheeky touchdown at the end to go up 14, I think they're taking it, because DeBoer is on thin ice with the boosters. He has to take every win he can get, and blowing out Vanderbilt is one of those. So give me Bama minus 10.5.
Yeah, I see what Blake is saying, and I think Alabama does win this ball game. Alabama is a totally different team at home and in big games, all of that sort of stuff. This one's College Game Day. It's a revenge game. But to me, I said it earlier this year, I'm never fading Diego Pavia again. And I'm sticking with my guns to that. I think the way Vanderbilt played against Alabama last season, like, I don't think that was fluky, like the way they won that game. They were really good at just controlling the time of possession, going on these long methodical drives. I don't think it's going to work out to the point that they're going to win the ball game. I think Alabama's a better team. I think they're going to be focused, but I think they do enough to get the 10.5 point cover. This definitely feels like potentially a little bit of a, you could get snagged on it. Like I could totally see that, but I'm sticking with my boy Diego Pavia to get the 10.5 point cover.
Yeah, look, here's the thing. Kalen DeBall not knower bits aside. Bobby has done retro week this week on the podcast, and I understand that perhaps if you look at very left-right edges, the Vanderbilt V is centered within the star, but it looks very off-center. That would not pass at, shout out to Blake, we're not going to dox Blake, but at Blake's place of employment, that sort of alignment would not pass on something that would get pushed out to the clients. I know this firsthand. So I can't support that. And then I look at Bama's retro mascot, and apologies if you're listening to this on the podcast. Imagine a V that is off center within a 5-pointed star. And then imagine Bavar the elephant for Alabama. He looks so innocent. Look at him. He's holding something in his little hand there. What
is going on?
He looks shy. He looks like he just looks so innocent. He has sort of an Auburn-esque logo on his saddle or whatever that is.
Bobby,
there.
Are you hearing this?
Give me Alabama. That mascot. Look at that. What is he? Does he have an ice cream? He has an ice cream cone?
No, that's a beer. That's a beer, Ty.
That looks like an ice cream cone to me.
When have you ever seen yellow ice cream?
The waffle cone.
The ice cream is not yellow.
That is not a waffle cone. Right. Look at the foam. There's foam.
It looks like he's been licking
like
he's been licking the ice cream.
He doesn't have. Well, they do have tongues, but
Look at him. He got his. We're not going to make assumptions. Their toenails are done. They've got a football. Look at the innocence in those eyes. They got a little eyeliner on. Give me the Crimson Tide.
Could be a little guy liner, man. You never know.
That's Kalen DeBoer's Alabama. So,
oh my God, Bobby,
give me Alabama 10.5.
You know what just happened? Alabama goes out there and beats Georgia, and DeBall knows this week DeBoer does something good, and Ty can only talk about picking mascots like he's my wife picking March Madness.
No,
like
no. One,
oh, it's a cute little elephant.
Ashley probably outpicks all of us in March Madness. 2, What? Don't make it. I didn't want to say it, but Vanderbilt is quarterbacked by Diego Poverty. Bet on him at your own risk.
Why do you keep fading? Why do you keep calling him Diego Poverty? What has he done wrong? He has been excellent everywhere he's gone. He's performed wonderfully, and every time you call him that, you lose. Like your bet. Like it never works.
Last pod, when we were talking about OU for some reason, I started talking about how he's the most significant player in college football season to date because of the impact that he's had on this team. So I'm just saying, put your money on him against Bama at your own risk.
I'm picking Alabama because this team showed to be very good last week in beating a very competent Georgia team. And like Blake said, this is a team that they're not going to let up against. This is an absolute fiery bunch coming into this game at home to play Vanderbilt, a team that embarrassed them last year. They'll be there and ready and will be handily covering the spread. Don't forget, Vanderbilt was a team that made us think Virginia Tech was good for a solid half. Let's not forget about that.
Then they beat them at late. Then they beat them at second half looked resounding. By the way, Johnny Manziel on the sideline on the Vanderbilt sidelines this weekend, wearing a Diego Pavia jersey, from what I understand. So, does that affect anything? Probably not. Anyways, let's move on to our next game.
Yes.
I don't know. Let's move on to our next game. It's the 11th ranked Texas Tech Red Raiders, 4-0 overall and against the spread. They've been excellent this season. They're heading down to Houston to take on the Cougars, also 4-0. 3-1 against the spread after a bit of a narrow win against the Oregon State Beavers. Texas Tech, an 11.5-point favorite. You can find this one 6 p.m. Central on ESPN. All right. I have a feeling, I don't want to say I have a feeling where Blake's going to go on this, but I know I know where Blake doesn't like, what team Blake doesn't like. And I want to know if he has the courage to do what he probably feels like he has to do.
The end of days may be near because Texas Tech is somehow at the top of the Big 12 and honestly seem like a lock to make the Big 12 championship. Like their schedule is a piece of cake and they can still drop one and still make it just super, super frustrating. The one time I need Utah to actually pull through. They don't do jack. They don't do jack and just allow Texas Tech to roll over them, and just everybody is glazing the crap out of this Texas Tech team. And so now after a big win, kind of, I guess, their program defining win that they've finally turned the page and become an elite program in the Big 12, I'm not buying it. They're going to hit some roadblocks soon, and I think it starts this week at Houston. I don't think they trip up and lose this game by any means, but Houston's a tricky opponent. I think Willie Fritz is a great coach. I think he has Connor Wegman. Connor Wegman's never going to be elite, but I think they might surprise him. They might surprise him enough to, I think, keep this one close. This needs to be a rivalry game. These two teams need each other so bad. They are both so desperate for a rival. Texas Tech is always trying to chirp TCU. Yes, they're one of our rivals, but they're like our third biggest rival. Like, don't even think about them. Houston just randomly comes into the chat always. They have like their 5 burners out there that wants to be rivals with TCU. That's never going to happen. You're never going to be rivals with TCU. You're never going to be rivals with Baylor or SMU. Any of these Texas schools, you aren't. But the perfect match made in heaven is these two loser programs that they can finally come together and have a rivalry. Maybe start it annually. Maybe get a trophy or something like that, because these teams are so desperate for attention. It's great, and they might get it with this game. But I'm just praying. Like, Texas Tech's a lock for the Big 12 championship, but oh boy, if this collapse happens, things are going to be burning in Lubbock. So I think some cracks show this week. So give me Houston plus points.
But I really wish Blake was here to tell me. I always forget who the quarterback is for Texas Tech. That's a long-standing bit.
I think it's Alan Bowman, is it not?
I wish. Oh, those are the good days.
Keep in mind, Jameson, that's actually been a question, like kind of recently. So let's not act like Baron Morton's like some sort of a lock these days.
Yeah,
because
he's also been
his
hurt.
replacement kind of kicked ass at Utah.
Where is Hans Franz?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Not in football.
Well, we don't know his name anymore.
He is excelling in something other than sports, Ty.
I think Barrett Morton should be getting the start. I was looking this up before this because I wanted to make sure I didn't screw up with that joke. Coming off the injury. Dude, Houston should have and almost lost to Oregon State. Oregon State's pitiful this year. And I understand they had to go all the way up to Corvallis on a weekday. I get it. But Texas Tech is a team that I haven't seen that from yet, from what I saw from Houston for 3 quarters in that game. Give me Texas Tech to cover the spread here at 11.5.
Yeah, look, here's the thing. This is not a quarterback battle. Although if it were, that would support the pick that I'm going to have. But Connor Wegman is not the guy that you want at quarterback. Is he befitting of Houston? Yes. There's a term for guys like Connor Wegman. We're not going to use it on the podcast, but think, OG Travis Kelce, Kevin Federline, Billy Eyelash. The term is coming to mind. But I think Tech just has the talent. I don't understand why this is 11.5. Houston, like commuter school, I don't know how many students they have. I think most of them are part-time online. I don't know where they play. I didn't know where Cincy played either. So, maybe I'm a stadium not knower. But
there you go. He said it.
Oh my God, he admitted.
You've been waiting for me to admit that I'm a stadium not knower. I have. The thing is I focus my cognitive bandwidth to stadiums to just hate knowledge, like knowing who specifically has the deed to the Coliseum in Los Angeles, which is the city of LA, and it's not USC. So they rent a city park to play their football games. But anyways, in short, give me the Red Raiders minus 11.5. It doesn't matter if they look ahead. It doesn't matter. They're going to smoke the Cougars in this one. I understand they're 4-0. They're going to smoke the Cougars in this one. Houston is going to finish the season 8-4.
Yeah, Texas Tech is a fully operational battle station right now. What they did to Utah in that second half was startling. And Houston, while I think that program's going in the right direction, they aren't ready for this. This is going to be an atmosphere that is going to have a lot of Texas Tech fans in it. A lot of Texas Tech alums in Houston. That's very much a hotbed for them. And look, Tech's the real deal. That's a legitimately really, really good football team. 11.5 I feel really comfortable with that line. So, yeah, give me the Red Raiders. All right, let's move on to our next game. We have got a massive one in the SEC and an important one for OU fans. It's the 9th ranked Texas Longhorns, 3-1 overall, 1-3 against the spread in their last game before the Red River rivalry. Heading to the Swamp to take on the Gators, who have been truly woeful. 1-3 overall and against the spread. Texas, a 6.5 point favorite on the road in the Swamp. You can find this one 2:30 p.m. Central on ESPN. Let's see what Blake has to say about this ball game. Actually, pretty intrigued about this.
This is a Lord forgive me, but I got to go back to the old me type of game. I can't quit this Florida team. I just refuse to think that this talent on this roster is just going to be this bad all year, and that any time they have a chance to upset a team, they're just not going to do it. And not even cover the spread. That's been the frustrating part. It seems like this Florida team, they've had some decent defensive performances that you would think would give credence to covering a spread, and they just haven't been able to do it. They weren't able to do it. They lost outright to USF, weren't able to cover the spread versus LSU, and then just got blown out by Miami. But I just refuse, even though Billy Napier is just not a good coach. This team has so much talent on the defensive side of the ball that if we just see a flash of DJ Lagway's potential in a game, they're going to upset a team. And why not it be Texas? Texas, I know, is so excited for the fact that they just killed Sam Houston State and that Arch was throwing it all over them. The last time we saw Arch against a elite defense, and I think this Florida defense might even be better than that Ohio State defense, he just did not look good. And going into the swamp, I refuse to believe Florida is going to upset a team this year. They have to. They have to. They have to. They have to. And I'm not going away from them. I'm not jumping off that train whenever Florida actually upsets one of these teams. I gotta be on that train. So give me Florida plus 6.5 at home versus Texas. I think they get the upset this week.
Look, I totally understand the idea of a look ahead with OU Texas. Like I've seen OU fall victim to this several times in my life. I've seen Texas fall victim to it several times in my life. But this Florida team is absolute cheeks, man. This has to be Billy Napier's last stand. I feel like he's lost the team. Lagway apparently has been struggling with an injury. He was in a boot last week, from what I've heard from reports. If he plays, he probably won't be at 100% here. I think Texas is a touchdown better than Florida. I think the crowd's good, sure, but Texas is a type of team that can go out, punch you in the mouth, and then shut them up quick and get everyone to chant "Fire Billy." But more than anything, I think some people, when they talk about Texas, lose the plot. They focus too much on Arch and everything. They're really just they're a defensive team. That defense is legit on the Texas side of things. They're going to make life hell for Florida. They get the 6.5 point cover here before Red River, setting up an absolute massive game, and a week that we're all going to be super excited to talk about.
Yeah, I really don't know. I don't know. I don't know what Blake's doing over there. It's at this point we're going to have to get Martin Sheen and Harrison Ford in a room and talk about how Blake is started to adopt methods that are unsound, and he needs to be taken out because this is just absurd. It's how he thinks this Florida team is. I feel like I'm missing something in that this is 6.5, and I think that all of the things that Blake has said are baked into this. Yes, desperate situation for Billy Napier. Yes, Florida has the talent. Yes, Texas has. They don't have a Power 4 win to this point, I believe. But they've been tested. People are acting like this Texas team, and I understand that Arch is disappointed, but that's not Arch's fault. That's the way the media treated him as the next coming of every great college quarterback combined into one. Texas did not look bad against Ohio State. Yes, they lost the game. Yes, they didn't look tremendous. They didn't look like the number one team in the nation, like they were billed to be. But you go into the horseshoe for the season opener, they did not look bad. There are not many other teams in the nation that would have lost the game in the way that Texas did. And I'm not going to give the quality loss argument here, but even with I feel like Texas look ahead scary game against Florida in the swamp is Texas only wins by 10. I think this is too obvious. Yes, say what you want about Arch Manning. Like Bobby said, it's a defensive team, and it's a team that is filled with talent. And as much as you want to hate him, as much negative stuff as you want to say about him, Sark has done a good job if you consider what he inherited and the fundamental flaws and the institutional issues that exist at the University of Texas for a head football coach to deal with, and the transitional period with the portal and with NIL. Obviously, Texas plays NIL on easy mode, but 6.5 this is so much of a layup. You have to take this shot. This is a high percentage shot. This is when Doc says, do you ever take that shot? Do you ever practice the shot? I believe I'm getting this reference right. Yes, This is the shot that you practice and take all the time. Give me Texas minus 6.5. Did I get that reference right for basketball knowers?
I'm be honest. I was trying to figure out if Trey Wisner was playing or not, so I was tuned out. I wasn't even listening.
What's the meme where the basketball coach is saying, "Do you ever take that shot? Do you ever practice that shot?" Is that Doc Rivers?
Was it Patrick Ewing yelling at him?
Maybe it's Patrick Ewing. Okay.
No, I think I know what you're talking about.
When Patrick Ewing does the meme. All right. Well, anyways,
I think I know what you're talking about.
This is the shot that you take in practice all the time. This is the high percentage shot. Take Texas minus 6.5, layup. This is one you throw in your parlay and you forget about it.
Yeah, Trey Wisner is questionable. This is my easiest pick of the week. This is Texas. Like Bobby said, DJ Lagway in a boot. Anytime you tell me that you're in a boot, makes me think that it's not just your traditional ankle sprain. There's something more going on here. And if it is just something where it is a traditional ankle sprain, I mean, maybe that's what the medical staff has preference towards, but it's been 2 weeks now, so I would hope that he's back and he's getting close to 100%. But if this was a high ankle sprain or this is a grade 2 ankle sprain, then he will be a little bit hobbled here, going against one of the better defenses in the country. Let's stop talking about Arch Manning and let's start talking about Texas's defense, and let's start more talking about Florida's offensive struggles. They have to go against Texas's defense here. That's going to make their life a living hell. It's going to be a low-scoring game, but I still think Texas covers the spread.
All right, moving on to our next game. It's a game everyone will be tuned in for it at 3 o'clock. It's the Kent State Golden Flashes, 1-3 overall, and against the spread, heading to Norman to take on the 5th-ranked Sooners. That sounds pretty damn good to me. OU 4-0, 3-1 against the spread, favored by 45.5. You can find this one 3 p.m. Central on the SEC network. Let's see what Blake has to say about this enormous spread in this window.
This is a no notes type of game. I don't even know what to say. How do you break down OU versus Kent State? Kent State is one of the worst FBS teams. Like, there's probably about 25, 50 FCS teams, if there are even that many, that are better than this Kent State team. This Kent State team is really bad. It's them and Akron that are just at the bottom of the barrel of the MAC conference. Like, this, I can't believe I'm so glad the SEC is going to 9 conference games, because the fact that this is just scheduled at this point of the season is blasphemy. And like, this isn't even the worst one. Like, most of these teams have teams like Kent State scheduled in November. Like, it's just asinine that we still have to deal with this with the SEC, and that a team that like OU, that we've seen these like flashes of greatness from them this year. It's like, I want to see them play another legit competitor this week, not play Kent State. 44.5, that's a big spread. But if OU just tries on defense, like, this Kent State team's not scoring, and like, they're not stopping John Mateer. And I just gotta think, like, I'm not sweating out. I'm not sweating out a Kent State cover. Like, they would need some miracles. They would need some tomfoolery at the end of the game in order to get enough points to cover this. If OU's offense can just somewhat hum, I'm going OU. Like, I just can't think of a rational argument why you're saying Kent State. Just that the number's too big, maybe, and you just pray that you get something cheeky on the back end. I'm not playing that game, so give me the Sooners minus 44.5.
Yeah, this one, I don't want to say it's difficult because, it's 44.5. Kent State's awful. I know OU's trying some stuff out, given, if Michael Hawkins Jr.
Bobby, my turn.
It's Jameson's
turn. Thanks, Blake. Or thanks, Jameson. Sorry, my God.
I was prepared to pick Kent State plus 45.5 the whole week. And I'm like, I hate this. Why do I want to cheer for that? And just like, whenever it comes into SEC play, maybe I can pick against Oklahoma and like make logical sense. The sense here is just like the number's too big. I think we run the ball too much and we just run our clock. But do I really want to have to say like there's an inkling of me that wants to score less points versus Kent State? No. And so, then there's another part of like, how can I logic this out to say how Oklahoma could cover this spread? And then I thought about it and I was like, you know what? I think that we're not going to play many backups. We have an offense out there. Michael Hawkins is the leader that we need more reps. We need more game reps with, because this is a start before Texas. And I think that the way that Arbuckle and Venables have handled the offense and overall team this year is they've shown that they're not going to throw in 3 deep offense really quickly, even versus this poor opponents. And this game is setting up to be another where we put out probably Michael Hawkins into the late fourth quarter. And I think that gets us enough to cover this spread here. So that's my reasoning now of what makes me feel good of why Oklahoma can cover this.
Here's the problem with this one. And Jameson said some very important things in his explanation that I'm going to put this in terms that Jameson would perhaps understand. I agree with his findings. I don't agree with his diagnosis. When Jameson said run the ball, that immediately alarmed me, because we can't do that. We don't have that capability at the University of Oklahoma this season. We're not going to speculate as to why. Bobby, we all know that Bobby won't let me speculate as to why, even though there are other journalists that have maybe published some screenshots of text messages. Anyways, we're going to move on from that. Kent State has been absolutely atrocious. They've been atrocious, but so has OU's run game. And like we talked about in the game preview that we recorded on Sunday, that if you haven't listened to, I would encourage you to go listen to. It's much more serious than this podcast. This game should be a practice for OU. We should take absolute advantage of the fact that Texas is having to go to the swamp to play a Florida team that is at the minimum stacked with talent, and we are getting to play Kent State. And yes, we have a tenuous quarterback situation, but this game should be a practice run for OU. It alarms me so much that this is 3.5 points over what we've scored at all this season. And is our defense capable of shutting out Kent State? Absolutely. Will we? I don't think BV has the heart for it. I just don't think he has the heart to stay on the gas. And frankly, I don't think we should. I don't think we should risk the guys. I think we should cycle in secondaries, tertiaries on the defensive side, and start to play with some stuff defensively. Will Kent State do anything with that? Probably not. Should we spend more time focusing on just developing chemistry between Michael Hawkins Jr. and this receiving core, none of which he is thrown to, as we talked about in our earlier pod? Yes. Should we be developing our run game? Absolutely yes. But 45.5 points is way too much from an OU team that is going to be working on things that a team that I believe in, a team that I legitimately think, knock on wood, no jinx or anything, is a playoff team this year. That's too many points, I think, in this game with a hobbled offense and with a massive impetus to not, we have no reason to score more than 40. We have no reason to score more than 35 as a delta between Kent State's score and ours. So another thing that alarmed me was the fact that Jameson has been looking for a UVA drunkard t-shirt in merch and just can't figure it out. Here's the thing. This is a callback to earlier in the pod. I know how to get merch stuff done. This is a on my cup here. If you will reference, if you're watching on YouTube, this is either Boomer or Sooner. This is Sooner, I suppose, with Oklahoma on the jersey, and it says Sooners. Complete copyright infringement here. And he has an M249 saw with an RCO and a PEC 15 PVS 31s on his I can't tell what kind of helmet this is. We'll say it's a high cut ECH with, I believe those are Peltor 7s. If you look at them, I can figure out how to get this merch. Jameson cannot. So trust me, with Kent State plus 4.5. 45. Not plus 4.5. Kent State plus 45 and a half. That was a lot of yap.
Well, I got to see your cut, which is pretty.
We will send. Lord King, I have more actually. I had one sitting right here. I have a couple more. So if Lord King requires one of these stickers, I will have Bobby get it to you.
Yeah, Lord King, I could get that to you for sure. Absolutely. Just reach out to me. We'll figure that out. I think a lot of this to me hinges on just how awful Kent State is. I think OU is going to go super base in this. I think OU's base defense can completely shut out Kent State. Much like what we saw, in some previous, cupcake games, the only chance that Kent State has of scoring is going to come down to turnovers in the red zone. I think OU does enough. I think they have to get creative enough with Hawkins Jr. in order to, get him acclimated to some game action here. I don't think they show off too much, but just enough. It's a little different than the Illinois State game. You've already seen this Ben Arbuckle offense in two high profile games, so it's not like there haven't been tricks released. So I think OU covers 45 and a half. I think it's a sweat. Don't bet on this. It's way too high. If you're going to do anything, bet the over. Because I think OU will score the points. It's just a matter of what mess does it take to, all it takes is one Kent State score to totally just botch this. So to me, I think OU 45 and a half, it's the play on this. It's a more fun play. I think the Sooners offense is going to do enough. Hopefully we see some Jaden Ott. I know that sounds insane, but from what we were hearing out of practice reports, apparently he might go.
Oh, brother. God.
I know. I'm not trying to fall for the trap.
Seriously, I'm tired of talking about it.
I know.
Just let him do it, and then we can talk about it then. I'm tired of hearing all this.
No, I agree. I'm not saying Jaden Ott's going to light it up. But, well, I mean, Jameson, if we're going to see actual Ott minutes, maybe it's this one.
I'm not saying Jaden Ott's going to do anything yet. Yes, you are. You brought it up.
I'm saying that this. I don't know. I'm just saying if anyone's trying to be like, hey, trying to make a name for themselves here, it might be Ott. Like, I don't know. We'll see. OU minus 45 and a half to play. Let's move on to our favorite pick of the week.
Why aren't the brakes working? Because I cut the brakes! Wild card, bitches! Yeah! What? Oh, God! Christ, guys, I can't stop this fast!
It's time for our wild card picks, where we pick our favorite game not on the slate. Just to look at the standings, Jameson, a perfect 5-0, Blake 4-1, Ty 3-3, and I am a abysmal 1-5. So whatever I say is probably not going to happen. As usual, we're going to start. I added the wild card, Ty. Did I get it? Did I get it wrong? Let's double check it later.
Okay. No, you did. Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah. Okay, so we're adding Blake here. Let's see what his wild card is.
For my wild card pick of the week, I called him a fraud earlier, and I still think he is. But there's one thing I know about James Franklin, and is after these losses, when he's playing these inferior teams, he's going to beat the crap out of them. He's going to absolutely destroy UCLA this week. UCLA hasn't led for a single second this entire year. They are just going to get stomped. They are going to get stomped by this Penn State team. They have absolutely no home field advantage. They have no momentum whatsoever. It seems like the vibes are all-time down at this program, and Penn State really needs to bounce back. And the one thing they do well is they just run up the score against inferior opponents, and they'll get to 9 wins. They'll get to 10 wins every year because they do that, but they can't win the big games. This is no big game. This is just easy keep it simple. I was going too flashy with BYU. I don't know what I was trying to do there, but this one's just a run it up the middle type of play. So I'm seeing on ProfitX -113 odds for Penn State -25. So I'll be taking the Nittany Lions in LA just to absolutely obliterate them. I would be taking UCLA team total unders. I think even if they just put up a decent offensive game, UCLA ain't scoring on this Penn State defense. Like, they are not going to be able to move the ball. So I think this one's just an easy run up the middle type of play, wild card win. So give me Penn State minus the 25.
All right, that's a play. As you can tell, atrocious record on my end. 1-5. Not much to do here. There's not a lot of things I can do to crawl out of this. So there's a part of me that wants to just start spite picking, like just start nabbing up like everyone's favorite teams just to give them like the touch of death.
Do it. Pick Boco. Pick Boco.
I thought about picking Boco. I thought about picking Navy a little bit. I just because it's, they're playing Air Force, so it's not like
if you do, you're gonna hate me. If you do, you're gonna hate me because I don't care to break that rule.
Fair. I know. But I'm choosing to trust my better angels here, and I'm gonna go with believe it or not, you look at this horrible record, look at this awful record. I'm not doing too bad overall. If you look at
Okay.
my performance in Philadelphia, if you look at my performance in Las Vegas last weekend, overall there are some good picks that are being made, not on the podcast. I swear to God,
he's good on the road.
I'm good on the road. I'm just not. I'm
Bobby,
just not
didn't
good.
you say that you were negative on college football but positive on other sports?
No. That's I wasn't saying other sports. I think I ended up even in Vegas, or slightly up. But one team that has actually come through pretty clutch, out of nowhere somehow. It's something our good friend of the pod, Austin, has let me know is a fun little team to trust. I'm gonna go with the New Mexico Lobos +2.5 here on the road at San Jose State. They've been a tiny wagon, outside of that one Idaho State game. They've been a bit of a wagon for me. They don't make it easy, but they find ways to win and cover. I like them as a road dog here. So give me New Mexico +2.5 as my wild card pick of the week.
Yeah, this couldn't go wrong, right, Ty?
What do I have to lose?
Yeah, he has nothing. Statistically, he will in fact regress to mean. So, or I guess progress in his case. Yeah, here's my thing. We're in a battle currently. This is the game. This is the game of the season. I understand when it comes to service academies, you think Army and Navy. And yes, Jeff Monken has had a tremendous career and will continue to have a tremendous career at Army. They're not good this year. This weekend, we get the game that will determine the Commander-in-Chief's trophy between the three service academies that play D1 football. Shout out to the Coast Guard Academy and the Merchant Marine Academy, who don't play D1 football. Navy versus Air Force. We're playing it in Annapolis. Navy, I was talking to Jameson about this one pre-podcast. Is boating school as good as they were last year? Probably not. But when you look at the offensive side of the ball, all of the key names that you should remember if you watched the bowl game against OU, if you watched Army and Navy last year, if you watched any Navy football game last year, you will recognize the names Blake Hovarth, you'll recognize the name Teska, you'll recognize the name Heidenreich. All of the big skill players are returning. Tremendous continuity on the team, obviously, as a service academy. And Coach Newberry has done a tremendous job. This game is so obvious if you're tuned into the advanced metrics that matter. And if you're tuned into the advanced metrics that matter, you will pay attention to NASA's annual astronaut class. And this is a battle between the two true space universities. Central Florida, not Space U. Purdue will tell you that they're Space U. They're not Space U. OU has produced its fair number of astronauts. They're not Space U. Space U, the battle between the two universities that own space, is between the Naval Academy, that represents obviously the Naval Service, the Navy and the Marine Corps, represented by the Naval Academy, and also the Navy's postgraduate schools that include Naval Test Pilot School. Air Force, obviously Air Force Academy, the Air Force Test Pilot School. Both of those are the primary paths to become an astronaut. Air Force Academy, Air Force Test Pilot School, Naval Academy, which has produced the most astronauts, and Naval Test Pilot School. NASA announced their astronaut class last week. 10 astronauts selected that will probably go to Mars. 50% of them have ties to the Navy system. One of them is in the Army, but this is so obvious that this is Navy. All the momentum, all the astronauts, all the space, all the real missions, all the football progress, all the yards on the field, all the points scored, all the returning guys, and all the jinxes from Bobby in bowl season. Give me my beloved midshipmen to seize the Commander-in-Chief's trophy in October against the Air Force Academy at home. Give me Navy minus 12.5 against the Zoomies.
Okay, so I picked Miami of Ohio versus Lindenwood last week. That was beautiful. Let me tell you something. Absolute great. Easiest pick, 20.5. I was chilling. I said, what is another game I can chill with this week? It's not as dirty as picking a Miami of Ohio, but do I feel dirty picking this team right now? Yes, big time. And it's Clemson minus 14 going to UNC. And you're like, gross. I don't want anything to do with UNC. I don't want anything to do with Clemson. I'm just going to watch this game and see what happens. That's what Vegas wants you to do. They want you to say, I don't want anything to do with this game, right? I guess that doesn't really make much sense. They want you to bet on this game. Never mind. That's a bad point. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say what I've seen from Clemson is bad. I think the metrics of Syracuse beating them and looking like that is going to be kind of, made to look worse from this last week and what Duke did to them, but Syracuse completely lost their edge whenever they lost their starting quarterback, and their backup just could not lead an offense worth anything. I think Clemson has taken a week off. They've taken some time to recuperate, and I think that they have the talent. We've always said that they have the talent to go out and win football games at high levels this season, but haven't. I think they can go out and just stop a team that UNC, by the eye test, unbelievably poor team. Like that, they just don't have it. I think Clemson can put them in their place. 14 points here. I'll take the Tigers.
All right, there we go. That is our wild card setup for the week. And that's our show, folks. Unless no pot of greens, we're all good here.
No, thought about
good
it,
deal.
but didn't do it.
There we go. Good restraint. Good restraint. Up next is an enormous week 7. Capped off by none other than the Red River rivalry, the Red River shootout, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be massive. You also have Indiana traveling to Oregon. You have Texas A&M, Florida, which was a big game, but maybe not as much now. It's going to be another. It's going to be another. What's that?
A&M versus 1-5 Florida.
Oh, yikes. It's going to be another great weekend of college football. I'm super pumped for it. It's going to be a great week of podcasting for us. We've got a lot of really good shows coming down the pipeline. We got our preview. We got our Texas preview. We've got our specific preview of the State Fair of Texas, where we take a look at our favorite new like food items, all of that, the process of what to do, how to handle that right. We're gonna bring back our good old friend Chris Eilenstein to talk about Texas. So we're gonna get the Texas perspective. And then of course weekend spread. Blake will be back on it, so we'll be back at full strength, right? When we kind of need to for our biggest week of the year. We're all really, really, really pumped about it. The people are calling for the Fruity Pebble Pickle over here.
Bobby's gonna dome one.
No, I'm not gonna dome. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna dome.
What will you do? What will you do if OU wins? On the record.
I don't need to do anything. I don't need to do anything.
This is a weak man, Ty.
That is.
No, I'm not weak because I'm not weak because I'm trusting my team. I don't need jinxes.
Which is why
he's putting himself over the team.
Yes. That is why you should do a tribute to the sports gods. They have gifted you a Thunder championship. They have gifted you a wonderful OU team, and you will spit in their eye and you will say, my glue will not be melted by the sun if I fly as high as I wish to fly.
I'm not flying at all.
You are Icarus. You are Icarus. You need to consider the University of Oklahoma, and you need to commit right now to something that you will do if OU wins. The university be forever damned.
I know exactly what you're trying to do here. I know what you and James are trying to do here. You're trying to do Bobby's a pushover. He'll fall over to peer pressure. I know this happens every time. No. Bobby, this ain't happening.
Listen to me. Jameson can say that as much as he wants. I am saying you can commit to anything as long as it is a tribute. You can say, I will dome a Fletcher's corny dog in less than 10 bites. You'll say you can pick your poison, whatever it is, as long as you choose to give something. When that tithing bucket of sports comes to you, will you put something in the bucket, Bobby? It can be whatever you choose. I'm not saying you have to dome an FPV.
I will say I like the idea.
You can say I will shotgun a Carb Oktoberfest at a time of my choosing. Or you can say I will sip on and enjoy a delirium Noel at a time of my choosing. It can be whatever you want it to be.
Well, Ty, I think that this is a great conversation for that podcast. So,
my God, he won't even commit to a.
It's called a promotion, Ty. I'll say it right here. I will make a declaration on that podcast.
This is blasphemy. This is blasphemy.
I will do something.
This is blasphemy.
You got to tune into the State Fair preview to find out what I'm going to do. Ty, this is called marketing. This is called marketing.
You will be smited. You will be smited, Bobby. And I don't want to make religious. I don't want to make this a religious pod. I don't want to make this a religious pod. I'm not Catholic, but the Pope is from Chicago, and he will, as Chicagoans say, he will slide on you if you do not make a commitment here.
Do you want me to take a shot of Malort then? Would that appease the Pope? I'm not even Catholic.
That's not what slide means. He will roll up with an unregistered clock, and he will introduce you to that medal if you don't commit to something. So
I'm not committing to something on this podcast now. We're going to delay this. I need to research. I need to do the time. I need to work on this. The people deserve a quality answer and not a half-cocked one at 1:43 of a podcast. But I will give you. I will do something. I will do something.
Go to people. You can't say I will go to Slotsky's and dome a.
We need time. We need time. We need time. We need time to discuss this. We need time to formulate and plan. But this is genuinely one of our favorite weeks of the year. I'm super excited, and I'm excited to announce as well to the boys. We have fixed our monetization. We're back as of several minutes ago. Super chats, all of that back in action. So for the literal one person who likes donating to our podcast and anybody else who wants to donate, feel free to do so. Who knows? We might throw something into that. I don't know. Could be fun. But yeah, great show. Jameson, are you excited about this week? You excited to talk the fair?
Of course I am. I have many thoughts that I'm just brewing on right now, so I can't wait.
Yeah. I mean, it's something we've been doing our research for months. You know, the second that list comes out, we're percolating behind the scenes, boys. So, all right. Well, until next time, this has been the Weekend Spread. Hope y'all have a great weekend and good luck out there. Oh, there we go. Fruity Pebble Pickle from Lord King.
Yes. We love you, Lord King.
Love it. Appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Boomer sooner, everybody. Good luck out there.